Number 3 here on Wednesday. We are just a few days away from MLS Cup 2024 in Los Angeles. According to online talking, tickets started at $400 online. Would you say that price point is a good or a bad thing? I mean, in comparison, the Super Bowl, another one-off championship game, obviously, $8,600 is the starting point there.
A little cheaper. I mean, look, we remember we went through the whole Messi panic. Every time Messi played away, tickets would hit the secondary market and they'd be listed at $1,000, and people would go nuts. Or even the MLS teams themselves selling directly would sell those tickets, jack up those prices because Messi was coming in town, and you can get a premium, right? This is supply and demand. That's what this is, right? I mean, this is economics 101. This is kind of how it works. And I don't know. I mean, I think obviously it's Los Angeles, so there's something to be said for that. This is the Galaxy's return to the final. You were saying that today, is it today?
The final, Saturday's final is 10 years to the day since they won their last MLS Cup.
Saturday's final is 10 years to the day. I was at that game. I was a much younger man, a little bit less gray in the beard. I was in overflow with the press, so I was not in the press box. That's another thing. Some of these seats are going to get taken by media who want to cover this game, and hopefully the Galaxy MLS is in control, but hopefully the MLS is giving access to a lot of people who want to be there to cover this game. It's a final. I don't know that I worry too much. I mean, obviously the supporters who have been there for the whole season in that Galaxy Inn, the Galaxians and Angel City Brigade. I'm trying to remember all my supporters groups for the LA Galaxy. All of the Riot Squad. Shout out to the Riot Squad. I hope they all have, the same access they always get. I'm sure they are. I'm sure that's all part of the deal. But in terms of, hey, I just want to go to the game, paying $400 does not seem like that bad of a thing. I know no Ricky Push, star power's dimmed a little bit, but it's New York, LA. Come on, that costs something.
Have you revisited our East Coast West Coast beef, Biggie versus Tupac, and who Ricky Puig maybe?
No, you're right. I misspoke the last time. Ricky Puig, Tupac out of death row. Meanwhile, I guess Emil Forsberg, that makes him Biggie. I guess that's what that is.
Or maybe his family is Biggie.
We might have to ask our next guest, Mark Fishkin, if that works. Emil Forsberg is as Biggie Smalls. I don't know if it fits. And I definitely don't want to reference, the leader of Bad Boy on this show or anywhere else if we can avoid it.
No,
I think we have to move on from this metaphor.
Going back to that, I was always curious why Mace left when he was at the top of the game, but it all kind of makes sense now. That's the benefit of being older. The things that semed odd back in the day, over time they all get fleshed out.
You want to get real nerdy about this? There's a documentary about Shine, and I kind of want to watch it. That would be a thing.
Yeah, because I don't even know if it was true, but apparently, I remember back in the day, Shine is the one that took the fall for the boss man back in the day, right? Is that true?
I believe that's what comes out in the documentary, which again I have not watched yet, and that is a level of hip hop nerddom. I don't know if we want to bring to Morning Kick around exactly.
I as we get to know each other doing the show, I feel like we have hip hop nerddom part of our part of the Venn diagram. So it might be worth traveling down there. Maybe a watch along with Shine on the Shine story.
Yeah, that could be a thing. I don't know. We'll come up. We'll do late '90s, early 2000s rappers as soccer players, or the other way around.
Before we move on from the MLS Cup final in this context, there is reports coming out that Don Garber getting an extension. Do you put a lot of credence? Has he deserved it? Is this what we're going to hear at the State of the League speech, do you think?
Yeah, Paul Tenorio reporting a couple hours ago that the Board of Governors has voted to extend Don Garber's contract through 2027. He had a deal through the 2023 season. I'm not sure how he was working this year, but obviously stayed on. I think this is just look, he deserves a lot of credit for where the league is a decade, 2 decades plus, 2.5 decades on from him taking it, right? And obviously, there's a lot of sort of built up credit for how he managed the league through the most difficult time, which is right after 9/11, going to 2002, folding the Florida teams, keeping the competition alive. But I'm one of those people who thinks it's time for a different voice, right? It's time for somebody else. It's time for a new face. That it gets stale. It's just like with coaches. Eventually, the message starts to get stale. He splits opinion, right? He has done some things, said some things, pushed the league in some directions that has bothered a lot of people, both pro MLS fans and sort of the anti MLS brigade that are obviously, they're rabble rousing for things like pro rel or the for a world of American soccer in which MLS is not so dominant and looking to gobble up every single bit of the marketplace, which seems to be the thing when you've got MLS Next Pro and all this other stuff happening. Rob, I have a lot of respect for Don Garber, but again, there's enough here to think he's holding back MLS in some ways, and isn't necessarily the voice you want leading the league into the next era post 2026.
Yeah, I'm curious if Don will address MLS Next Pro. Wasn't quite sure when they formed that. It was kind of an odd launch, but more and more teams are getting added, and I'm kind of hearing rumors of more teams being added. Do you think that that's going to lead to? I guess that if that does become a thing, I don't want this to be a step along American soccer being like a minor league system a la baseball or hockey.
Well, that's the thing, right? Right. And my grand theory of American soccer and how we are so often league based and league forward rather than club forward. That's exactly what this is, right? Major League Soccer is a business, and then everything flows from the decisions that MLS makes as a business, which is, again, why Don Garber has inflamed so many passions with what he's done or what he's said, right? Because let's keep in mind that he works at the behest of the owners. Now, he has a large voice in that room, and he can help dictate league direction through his arguments about how the league should grow, but ultimately it comes down to the owners voting as a unit or as a majority to do things to push the league in different directions. It does feel as though that sort of all-encompassing NFL mindset is antithetical on some level to how soccer has worked. Soccer as a game that is for the people, by the people, those kind of things. Now, I think it's worth pointing out that without sort of a business-first mindset, without some of the things and the protections the league had in place in order to get it through those rough times, we don't have an MLS. And if we don't have an MLS at this level, maybe we don't have a USL championship that's thriving or a USL League One. It's hard to know, right? We can't go back in time and check out, hey, if we did this thing, what would happen? What would be different, right? We don't know those things. All we have is the evidence at hand, and it leads a lot of open questions about whether or not MLS could be in an even better place or whether American soccer could be healthier, especially down the pyramid, if MLS wasn't so intent on dominating the market.
Yeah, that conversation will continue, no doubt. Like and subscribe here to Morning Kick Around. We are one step closer towards that goal here with just a couple more subscribers. Follow us along on social media at MKickaround on X, Instagram, and now Blue Sky.